So this video is to explain how the structure of our posture can positively or negatively influence our breathing mechanics. In an ideal situation, we'd want the head, the ribs, and the pelvis completely stacked on top of one another in all three planes of motion. This will facilitate 100% proper breathing mechanics. Any structure that's deviated away from that stacked position will inhibit those breathing mechanics. So the first rule or the first principle is make sure everything's stacked. Rule 2 or principle 2 is that all three structures will oppose one another as no different than cogs inside of a clock. So when the first cog or gear is rotating clockwise, it'll grab the teeth of the next gear or cog and rotate it counterclockwise, etc., down the line. So if we look at the head being the first gear or cog, as we tuck the chin, it should, with all the vertebrae in the back moving in relation to the skull, it should grab the ribcage vertebrae and extend them up, decompressing the diaphragm, allowing a nice belly breath. So if we're sitting around a lot, compressing, head sliding forward, we'll get the opposite motion in that gear system. So the chin's going to rotate up, pushing the vertebrae forward, collapsing my ribs, collapsing the vertebrae, and now I have chest breathing instead of a nice facilitated belly breath. So when we're breathing through the shoulders and the shoulder blades are rising, we usually have a stress response, a sympathetic response. But when our chest is nice, elongated, and stacked, we have a parasympathetic response or a relaxation response. So we're going to use a wall just to have some positive feedback to see if we're stacked or not. So push the pelvis, ribs, and head against the wall. First thing we're going to do is just take a breath and locate where you put your breath. Was it stomach? Was it chest? Was it shoulders? Are you having a difficult time keeping your head, ribs, and pelvis even stacked on the wall? Definitely document that. As you progress through the breathing protocols, you can look back to see if you've improved or not. So we're going to slide the head up. Slowly inhale. Hopefully you feel the vertebrae of the neck moving closer towards the wall. Do you feel your chest rise or not? Yes or no? Document that. If you feel the chest rise, take a nice breath in. Was that harder to feel your breath in the belly? Did you feel a lot of stretching in the neck? If you felt a lot of stretching in the neck, just know that you're probably getting the muscles of the neck to lengthen for the first time. Since we're in this position a lot, the muscles of the neck surrounded by the shoulder blades and the clavicle and the cervical spine tend to get nice and short. This position, breathing into the belly, allows these muscles to lengthen for the first time. Ideally, muscles should lengthen and shorten in every step we take. Step 2, as your chin moves down towards the sternum, lift the sternum towards the chin. You should feel the lower part of your spine coming off the wall. When you're in this position, take a nice belly breath. And when you exhale, slide your ribs back down the wall, and your chin should rise. So we want to experience both ranges of motion in all three planes to get ideal breathing mechanics while staying stacked. So breathe in again, and then breathe out. Try and sync your breath with your movement. So by the time you get to the end of your breath, you're at the end of your range of motion. Slowly breathe in. Breathe into the belly. Feel your shoulder blades naturally slide down. End of your breath should be the end of your range of motion. Slide up. In an ideal scenario, when you extend the ribs, it should give space for your shoulder blades to naturally slide down your rib cage. When we collapse the ribs, hopefully you can see that as I collapse the ribs, the shoulder blades tend to push up and my head comes forward. You can't move one thing without moving everything. So use the wall as a reference point, document everything that we go through. And if you need any help with sticking points of ribs, pelvis, or in your neck or skull, let me know.